Kia ora and welcome to another episode and to season 3 of the Leadership Lounge, the space for healthcare leaders to get a pause, a break, a chance to breathe in that fresh air and get a fresh perspective on the work that they're doing, the work that you are doing. I'm Katie and I'm your host, and I wanted to start with we're back. I do a brief test of recording before I start. You would never think that I do any kind of prep for this, would you? You just think I just roll up in my pajamas. To be fair, I am in my pajamas and just start rambling on. There is a little bit of a process, and I do a test, and I just went, we're back, and that sounded really cool. So if you're into that kind of energy, that's where we're at today. That's the energy I'm bringing to it. And Happy New Year. Here we are. 2025, we have made it through 2024 and we are now looking 2025 down the face and going, okay, what are you going to bring for us? And that was kind of where my head was at when I was thinking about what should we be talking about this week. And it started with thinking about the break, really, because a lot of people, if you're listening in Aotearoa, New Zealand, it is really traditional that there is this big summer shutdown and everyone goes on holiday. We all go off camping and everyone has this lovely break. In fact, you kind of hang on for it, which is a tad unhealthy in one perspective. However, it's very traditional to have this kind of shutdown. What I have noticed over the years, when I first moved to the UK and was doing my first year kind of possibly not when I was working on the floor, because what I noticed when I was working on the floor is that it wasn't as hard to fill the roster at Christmas. Christmas roster filling in the UK is like the thing of all things ever. It's like intense. You start planning that from January. Who's going to be off and all this kind of stuff. Because it's the middle of winter and you don't have that long holiday kind of tradition. So Christmas roster filling. So I was never bothered about having the time off. I didn't see what the big thing was about it. And then when I got into a service manager job and I realised that everybody takes the time off and all my lists and my theatre lists and my clinic lists, everything stops. I'm like, what the hell is going on? What I noticed is that has definitely changed. And I live in Auckland, and often I used to love being in Auckland around this time of year because everyone would leave. That ain't the case anymore. Not everyone is leaving. It is still, there's less traffic and all this kind of stuff, but it's not the emptiness. So times have changed, as they should do. So my holiday didn't turn out quite what I expected. A little surprise came along, and on the 27th of December, we found a kitten stuck, kind of huddled up under a hedge on the side of a busy road. Husband Adam, the big cat lover that he is, or animal freak that he is, I swear he's Dr. Dolittle in a different life. He heard this kind of cry for help meowing going on the other side of the road and goes, I can hear a cat. I go, it's a bird, isn't it? No. So he goes on over, sees the cat from the other side of the road, which is incredible. He has obviously much better eyesight than I do. And we pick up this gorgeously tiny, cute bundle of little kittenness. Eyes all jammed together, very raggedy looking. Nip off to the nearest vet and get him looked at and checked over. In the meantime, we go back, knocking on all the doors around to see if anyone has lost a kitten and if anyone's just had a kitten, all of this kind of stuff. We do a serious search, end up having a wonderful conversation with this one woman about other cats and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, it turned into a very interesting day. Not the day we had planned, curiously. And Adam, before long, you know what he's saying. Can we keep the kitten? So we gained a kitten, and it's tiny. It's like apparently 8 weeks old, but I think it's young. It looks tiny. It's tiny, and very, very cute. And so our plans for our holiday, this kind of almost, Adam had 12 days off work. And I was going to let's have a real holiday. And we were going to be doing day trips to the beach. We were going to be going out and about, all of that out the window, because now we are in kitten land and we are having to feed regularly and check on him, not leave him alone for so long. So yeah, all the plans went out the window. And however, we have had a great break because we've had lots of naps, we've been reading, we've just been enjoying the garden. And so doing lots of reading and doing a lot of, for me, that meant quite a lot of that sort of inner work thinking. That kind of, it comes off the back of reflecting on 2024, looking forward to 2025, and a lot of the, okay, what needs to shift? And that idea of, so I've been doing an awful lot of journaling, a lot of meditation, and if that idea of that inner work makes you go a little bit, that's a bit weird, a little bit uncomfortable, I would just ask you to go, why? Why does it make you feel uncomfortable? Because we've all got that work to do. Whatever stage you're at, wherever you're in your leadership, whatever role you're in, as human beings, we're in this constant state of evolution, and there is always things that we need to challenge ourselves on and consider. So that's the kind of work we've been doing. We all need it, and it is usually uncomfortable. And like I say, it's mine is often reading, journaling, meditation, but for other people it's different processes. But it's leaning into issues that you're holding on to, and it's helping, just kind of rephrase and reconsider how I look at things. And so as I've been, looking at other things that have come my way, whether that be emails or on social media posts, this time of year, you're swamped, it seems, with this idea of goals and habits. Set your goals, be a new person, thrive in 2025, all of those kind of messages. And so this parallel work that I've been doing around stuff for me is really making me reconsider and how we phrase something, how we consider the norm, and what does that actually look like in a reality setting, and what does that mean for me right now? And so this idea of setting goals and plans and these big resolutions has just been, it felt a bit off. And I haven't done resolutions for a long time. I have done for many years now what is a word of the year. And woman I mentioned at the end of season 2, someone I use for a lot of my reflection work is Susanna Conway. And she does this marvelous, it's a downloadable book now that you can get to help you uncover your word of the year. And so that was one of the processes that I do. And so not big into this big, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and this is my resolution, I'm suddenly going to become super fit and lose loads of weight, and all that kind of stuff that you kind of like layer on as extra pressure. However, I have seen what's been popping up this time around that's a little bit intriguing, this idea of 2025 bingo, where you make your own bingo cards. Now there's lots of versions of that out there. I'll try and find a couple of links to some of the good ones and pop those in. But anyway, all this idea about, okay, we're at the start of 2025 and it can feel exciting, right? It's like a brand new notebook. If you're into notebooks and stationery as much as I am, you'll know that feeling when you've just got this perfect notebook and you're almost too frightened to start writing in it. And you kind of, well, this is my confession here, skip the first page and you start somewhere 2 or 3 pages in, and it's this real excitement around having a brand new notebook. That's what a new year feels like to me. So I want to put some thinking behind it, but I'm just finding this pressure of goals and plans and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, is that going to help me? Is that going to help you? And I think if we consider the healthcare setting, probably wherever you are in the world, the upheaval, but particularly in Aotearoa, New Zealand, with the extent of changes and restructures that are going on, I don't think anyone is under any illusion that, here we are with a fresh new start and everything's going to be fine and dandy, thanks very much. We know it's more of the same and worse, if you like. There's going to be increased demands, increased expectations. You're going to be being asked to do more with less, work smarter, all those lovely phrases that you really love to hear, that if you suddenly find yourself saying, you actually gag a little bit in the mouth because they're just so ridiculous. So it's that kind of energy and that kind of feeling and that kind of I suppose forward view that you've got of the year. There's going to be another tough year. So how on earth do you set plans and goals for that? You can sit down in your lovely little holiday and make all these delightful plans and goals and go, yeah, this is how it's going to do. But what's going to happen when everything sideswipes it? What's going to happen when we suddenly do another shift and it's like, oh no, now we're doing this? So this idea of setting plans, they just feel too too unsteady, I think, for us right now. And I think when you're trying to create a space of certainty and a space of safety and a space of security for you, your team, the people that you're working with, fixing all your hopes on plans that might just get knocked over and a change of direction, or everyone's job goes, or the team leaves, or you get a new boss, all of that kind of stuff could happen. As I was taking some notes for this recording, the thing that came to mind, and now forgive me if you have not heard of this guy. So Eddie Izzard, oh God, I can't say his name, Eddie Izzard, comedian. He's been in some movies now. He's been in a lot of, oh my God, I've completely forgotten all the movies he's in. He was in some of the Ocean's movies. However, I do hope you've heard of Eddie Izzard. I will put some links and stuff. But one of his sketches that I remember when I went to see him live, which I have done on several occasions, is this idea of going from the quote of best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. And he does it really funny. So I can't talk about plans going off kilter without going into a slight Eddie Izzard kind of thinking, which is, he's quite chaotic and quite jumpy. If you watch a sketch, you'll understand exactly why I like Eddie Izzard's comedy and where he's going all over the place. It's this idea of mice and men. He will often jump off into the mice. What sort of plans do mice make, for goodness sake? And yeah, so you can imagine where that sort of sketch goes. However, so it's that kind of idea. We can make these plans, and the best laid plans of mice and men can often go awry. That's the Robbie Burns quote. And so, you know, you've got these plans, you've done all these things that all this social media people are telling you to do, and then you can have chaos and kittens and governments and all that sort of stuff will just wipe those plans awry. So what do you do instead? So my thinking and my reframing, or my perspective, I guess, on this is what about intentions and choices? Now, intention setting, again, one of those things you can Google and you can find an awful lot about, but you can do it on a weekly basis, daily basis, monthly basis. You can set an intention for a meeting and set an intention for a conversation. And it was a bit of what we did in the online session that I ran at the end of the year using the Emotional Culture Deck. We did a bit of reflection. Hey, by the way, awesome session for those of you who came along. It was fabulous. I really enjoyed it. It was a really amazing energy in the group. There was lots of breakout rooms and lots of chatting. It was phenomenal. And it's given me some ideas for what to do going forward around this stuff. But yeah, we used the Emotional Culture Deck and we did a bit of a reflection, but we also then set some intentions around how do I want to feel in 2025? What is that feeling that I want? And then from there, you can start to deliver some actions, and they're not kind of like, I'm going to be this by then. It can be much more tangible around, okay, so if I want to feel more supported, I'm going to get myself a mentor. I'm going to have a regular coffee meeting with a peer that I work with, you know? So they are kind of plans, but they are built on something a bit deeper or a bit higher, whichever way you look at it, I suppose. But it's different from something that is just written down on a piece of paper around something. Here's my plan for the year, doof. And then you get really disappointed if you don't manage to pull it all off. So intention setting. When you're then in your moment of action or something's coming along. So yes, you will have plans. So let me just be clear, right? I'm not saying we don't have plans. I've got plans and I've got some goals and they're all fine. But I think if we put all our eggs in that basket, then we can suddenly find ourselves like, oh, well, what am I supposed to do now? Whereas if we've done the intention part as well, we can then go, okay, we can adapt a bit. We can go, okay, so we're not going to do that plan now. We're going to do that. So I can do this and still feel X, Y, Z that I need to feel, or we can still work towards it. It's a bit about what I was talking about at the end of season 2, this idea of direction and that where are we heading to? So you've got this intention, and that could be another phrase, I guess, for intention. It's this idea of where am I aiming for? What is my direction? And then the other thing that you've got there is when you've got that intention, you can then make choices. And when something just pops up and you go, now we've got to do this, You've then got the option to make some choices about how you do it. You don't have to follow the way everybody else is doing. You can tap into different ideas. You can go, okay, let's just look at that from this perspective of the intention that I've set. So if your intention for your team is to be more productive, or your team to be more connected or more supported, okay, what is the choice that I can make that is still going to enable the team or myself to be more supported, connected, productive, encouraged, optimistic, whatever it is that you want your intention to be? What are the choices I can make to enable that? So, not about abandoning plans and goals. I definitely have some plans. They are... How do I do my planning? Oh, that's a whole other issue. Let's not even go down that sort of rabbit hole right now. But this idea of lifting yourself up above plans and the goals, because goals are good. There's a lot of, if we talk about planning, there's even more about sort of goal setting. And I guess I read a couple of recent things on goal setting, because I always used to get really, tied up in knots around, okay, what is the goal here? What is the goal that I want? Or what is the goal for this project? And that's where SMART goals were really useful. However, I've read a couple of really cool articles that kind of give you a bit of a nuance on the SMART goals. They're kind of saying SMART goals don't really fit for us anymore. The first one of the sort of nuances on this comes from Alicia Mackay, and she has it in one of her Wednesday Wisdom emails, and that you can sign up for some really interesting perspectives and some really tangible challenges, I would say, in her email, if you want to grab that. But her kind of phrase, it was the title of her email was around a fresh take on SMART goals, crazy SMART goals. And I think if you think about the challenges that need to be faced, then maybe it is the way to go. So she sticks with specific. Rather than measurable, she has meaningful. And this idea that, if they're specific, they should already be measurable. So it's kind of like doubling down on measurable is in the specific. Whereas if you've got a meaningful goal, then that's different. Achievable, she swaps out. I really hope, by the way, I've just dived into the fact that you'd know what SMART goals are. So maybe I should recap. Maybe we're too late. No, never too late. So SMART goals, and this was a way I was taught many years ago when I first started this whole idea of whatever work it is I am. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So there's a time bound to them. And so there's a couple of nuances that I've come across. Alicia Mackay is one of them, and she changes it to specific, meaningful, aspirational, risky, transformational. Now, I kind of like that. I think there is a tad of courage and what's the other word I'm after for? Yeah, some real energy in those. Aspirational, risky. Healthcare doesn't sit well with the risky business. But I think when you've got to consider where we're at and what needs to be done, there needs to be some risks taken, and having conversations about that is just the start of it. But I love the meaningful, love the transformational. So there's that nuance on it. Another wise woman to go and have a look at, Helen Bevan. She's from the NHS, strategic advisor, and she is just one of those. She's just definitely one of my heroes and in people that inspire me a lot, and worked in healthcare for a long time. So she changes to she's quoting an article, and I'll send you the link to that so you can reference the article as well as her LinkedIn post, which is where this has come from, and basically saying it's time to move on from SMART goals. And she calls them slim goals. So if we want to take on that idea of the fact that you do need to do more with less, then slim might be the way to go for it. She sticks with specific. It's really important to have something that is very, very clear. L is for learning orientated. Now that's quite cool and appeals to the lifelong learner in me. When I do my strengths assessment, learner is one of my top 5 strengths. So learning orientated is great. And I think if we're thinking about the fact that in healthcare, we don't know what the answers are. We don't know what structure we need. We don't know what the future is going to look like. We don't know. Learning orientated goals are actually going to be quite useful. The I is for impactful. So we do need to make an impact. And so Therefore, our goals need to make an impact. If you want to you've come into healthcare to make a difference, to have an impact, to be positive, force for good, all of those things, then your goals need to be impactful as well. And SLIM ends with measurable. So I think measurable in this context, they've decided that is still important to have, the way of seeing how you are tracking towards it. Now, I wrote a blog post at the end of the year around not achieving one of my goals, and actually the measure in it was important because I could see I'd make progress. So while I didn't achieve the goal, I did make progress, and so that was something that I could learn from. So there you go, 2 nuances on the SMART goals. So if you do need to set some goals, make some plans, without a doubt. So there's a couple of ideas of different ways you can think about your goal setting. But my challenge here is that with all this push around your goals, what are going to be your goals? What are your plans for the year? All of that sort of stuff. Let's just take a breath and rise above that slightly and go, yeah, my intention is this. And therefore I'm going to make choices like that. So it's a wrapping around, maybe, as I've evolved this, it's a wrapping around. So yes, I've got plans, I've got goals, I'm making plans all over the place, and I do have ideas. I have hundreds of ideas. This is one of my strengths/weaknesses in the fact that I have a gazillion ideas around all at the time. But what I think is that we have to be ready for all of those to be upended. Bad things happen in your personal life, in work stuff, and all of that could just be shook up, and then chaos sprinkled all over them, and then what have you got left? If that's where you've put all your focus and all your energy. If you've got an intention, something grounding, something really foundational that you can just go, you know what, okay, all right, but my intention is still this. It's very values aligned. It's very purposeful. It's very individual. This is my intention for the year. So there you go. Welcome into 2025. Welcome to season 3 of the Leadership Lounge. I am Katie. It's wonderful to have you with me as we talk our way through the topics, the issues, the things that are coming to your mind as a leader in healthcare. And I will be back next week. This is a good moment to remind myself and to remind you around the fact that equally on a week I send out a weekly newsletter. It is the bright spot in your inbox. It is not a list of other things that you are supposed to be doing or that you are behind on, but it is that lifting. It is that supporting and encouraging, the optimistic one. I had a great quote. Actually, in my last email that I sent out at the end of the last year, I had a lot of people reply back just saying thank you, and this wonderful thing when someone said that despite everything going on, and when there is so much going on that is challenging us, pressuring us, questioning our integrity, to have your email and your optimism come each week makes all the difference. So that's the kind of email that I'm sending and that I want you to receive. So you can sign up for that at www.katiequinney.com/subscribe. And there is, if you noodle around on the website, there's a whole lot of resources that you can download for free as well. So that's me. That is what I do. Here we are again, start of 2025, wishing you a wonderful back into the year and back into work if you are coming back from your break. And I will be back next week with another episode of the Leadership Lounge. Take care.